With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Breaking news, a federal judge has ruled in favor of the AT&T merger with Time Warner today. The approval by the judges with no conditions. The Justice Department had sued last year to block the merger, saying that the deal would hurt consumers. Again, the AT&T merger with Time Warner has been approved by a federal judge today with no conditions attached. Senators are offering mixed reactions to the Trump-Kim summit. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says the U.S. didn't get much.
It is worrisome, very worrisome, that this joint statement is so imprecise. What the United States has gained is vague and unverifiable at best. What North Korea has gained, however, is tangible and lasting.
But Republican Senator Lindsey Graham told NBC's Today Show President Trump made North Korea an offer it couldn't refuse.
We've made it clear to North Korea, you've got two ways to end this conflict. Peacefully, where you get a lot of incentives to give up your nukes. You get security guarantees to give up your nukes. And if you don't, we're going to have a military conflict to end your nuclear program. I think it's that clear to Kim Jong-un. And if it's not that clear, it will never work.
Mr. Trump also announced the U.S. will stop holding joint military exercises with the South Koreans. Congress launched a 2-week vote-a-thon on more than 3 dozen bills intended to combat the opioid abuse crisis.
A growing crisis that now claims the lives of more than 100 Americans every day. Oregon's Greg Walden.
We have an opportunity to save lives. We have a responsibility to our families, friends, communities, our neighbors, and our nation to lift people out of addiction and to get America on a better path.
The legislation includes measures to fund more caseworkers, create new treatment programs, and conduct new research. Lawmakers admit the measures won't eliminate the problem, but they're hoping it makes a difference.
Capitol Hill correspondent Wally Hines reporting. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 2 points. The Nasdaq rose 44. This is SRN News. The president of Turkey talks war with Christians.
Recep Erdogan is not happy with Austria's decision to shut down several mosques that are funded by Turkey over concerns that those institutions are more about politics than religion. In a speech in Istanbul, the Turkish president says, quote, "These measures are leading the world toward a war between the cross and the crescent. You do this and we sit idle? It means we will take some steps too." He did not elaborate on what those steps might be. Michael Harrington, SRN News.
A woman who took sanctuary in a Massachusetts church to avoid deportation to her native Peru has been granted a 1-year stay of removal by federal immigration officials. Members of the South Congregational Church in Springfield say the woman will be allowed to return to her Springfield home while she pursues lawful residency. A growing number of predominantly liberal churches have been making themselves available to illegal immigrants seeking to avoid deportation. Federal officials can enter a church to arrest illegal immigrants, but they rarely do so. This is SRN News. Surging gas prices have triggered increases in consumer prices and inflation.
Consumer prices rose 0.2% in May, with soaring gasoline costs driving much of the increase. The Labor Department says the Consumer Price Index climbed nearly 3% last month from a year ago, putting inflation on its fastest annual pace since February 2012. But core prices, excluding food and energy, have increased only 2.2% in the past 12 months. The slower growth in core prices likely means the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates only gradually. Mike Hemp in Washington.
George H.W. Bush is celebrating his birthday in Maine as the first former U.S. president to turn 94 years of age. Mr. Bush doesn't have any big plans for Tuesday's birthday, 8 days after being released from a hospital where he was treated for low blood pressure. More details at srnnews.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14,
41, 31, 13. We
took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted.
I
realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
Trump and Singapore.
From CBC News, The World This Hour, I'm Danielle Capelli. U.S. President Donald Trump is calling his meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un a step towards peace. But reaction from Washington has been mixed. Stephen D'Souza has more.
We want to see these efforts succeed and ensure that what has just transpired was not purely a reality show summit.
Democrat Chuck Schumer says they're concerned Donald Trump came away from the Singapore summit with little substance.
What the United States has gained is vague and unverifiable at best.
Republicans applauded Trump's achievement, but some, like Senator John Kennedy, warned Trump not to trust a dictator like Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un is a butcher, and he is a butcher of his own people. And trying to reason with someone like that is like trying to hand feed a shark. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but you got to do it very, very carefully.
Republican Senator Marco Rubio says Trump's flattery of the Korean leader during the summit has a purpose.
But I think the president's trying to butter the guy up to make it easier to get a deal with him.
The question they all have, will that deal live up to the hype? Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, Washington.
Prime Minister Trudeau made his first appearance in the House of Commons since he began receiving tongue lashings from Donald Trump and some of his officials.
Allow me to first begin by thanking the members of the opposition, indeed all Canadians, for demonstrating that when the moment is right, we all stand together firmly to support Canadians across party lines, across the country.
Meanwhile, a top U.S. trade advisor is backing away from controversial remarks he made on the weekend. Peter Navarro said there was a special place in hell for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
I used language that was inappropriate. I own that. That was my mistake. Those were my words. And if I may quote the words of the great Bear Bryant, when you make a mistake, you should admit it, learn from it, don't repeat it.
Navarro was asked if his mea culpa included an apology for Trudeau, and he said yes, absolutely. Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland says Canada is sticking to its game plan on trade negotiations, but she says she expects there will be moments of drama while dealing with the Trump administration.
From the beginning, we have said that our approach would be to hope for the best, to work for the best possible outcome, but to always be prepared for the worst, to have a plan B, C, D, E, and F, and maybe to the end of the alphabet.
Freeland says Canada will be ready if Trump follows through on his threat to impose tariffs on the auto industry. Overseas, Britain's Justice Minister resigned just as a crucial series of parliamentary votes began on Britain's departure from the European Union. Philip Lee says he has stepped down so he can vote against the government. Lee wants Brexit to be delayed and is calling for a referendum on the terms of any exit deal. And finally, a group of migrants rejected by Italy and Malta are now on their way to Spain. More than 600 people were rescued from a ship in the Mediterranean on Saturday. Megan Williams has more from Rome.
What is usually an overnight trip from where migrants are rescued has turned into an ordeal that will last days.
It will take more than 3 days before the Aquarius enters the port of Valencia.
Mathilde Auvillan of SOS Méditerranée says the majority of migrants on board the Aquarius will first be transferred to Italian naval and Coast Guard ships that will take them to Spain. Italy's new far-right Interior Minister Matteo Salvini has long accused the humanitarian ships of collusion and profiting from human trafficking, unsubstantiated accusations. He's the one who refused to allow the Aquarius to dock at an Italian port. But he will allow more than 900 migrants now on board an Italian naval ship to dock in Sicily because he says it's a government ship. Megan Williams, CBC News, Rome.
And that is your world this hour. For CBC News, I'm Danielle Capelli.
They were outnumbered, out-equipped. They had no chance of winning, but they had one huge advantage: General George Washington.
The fate of unborn millions will now depend, under God, on the courage and conduct of this army. We have to resolve to conquer or die.
Just as the leadership of one man helped form a nation, today leadership can transform the world. Leadership is in you. Now pass it on from passiton.com.
From CBC News, The World This Hour, I'm Danielle Capelli. U.S. President Donald Trump is...
Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise.
And all was Benjamin Franklin wise.
So you actually think electricity can pass through metal? Ha! Ben Franklin, go fly a kite.
Excellent idea. Where are my keys?
Besides the bifocals, Ben invented the Franklin
Up
stove,
you go!
the odometer, oh, and the lightning rod. Ingenuity, pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
More NFL minicamp conversation. I am Keith Irizarry. David Johnson, Cardinals running back, set to make a little bit less than $1.9 million in the final year of his deal, has begun his holdout. Andrew Luck was the biggest story of the day, took part in drills, and he was able to throw a football. Here's Luck afterwards.
But my goal is to be ready for training camp. And that doesn't necessarily mean I'm throwing 100 balls every day, 6 days in a row. There's going to be a plan. Frank and I have had some really, really good conversations, and we'll continue to have great conversations. But big picture, my goal is to be able to throw like a game week. A Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at practice, and then a Sunday, let it loose, no count, nothing. You got to go and let it go.
Reports have surfaced that Luck was throwing a high school-sized football, but will be ready for full-out practices. Speaking of ready, Odell Beckham Jr., he's there at minicamp. He says he will not participate. Head coach Pat Shurmur.
He was cleared to be out there, and he practiced. He did a good job. Cleared to practice. Cleared to practice. Let's not worry about it. He's cleared to practice, and that's what he was doing.
But there were different levels, like you said, each player.
He's out there practicing. If you all want to count the reps, go ahead. But he was out there practicing.
There you go. The New York media for you, Pat Shurmur. Richard Sherman, dealing with that Achilles injury, has been cleared for individual work in minicamp, expected to be in, quotes, full speed for training camp. The Toronto Raptors have a new head coach. It is their former assistant coach, Nick Nurse. He'll take over the role. On the diamond, 15 total games. You got the Red Sox and Orioles at 7:05, Nationals and Yankees also at 7:05 Eastern, Cubs and Brewers at 8:10. Chicago, a half-game lead in the NL Central. They have won 8 of their last 10 games, so a big game for that divisional battle. I'm Keith Irizarry. It's NBC Sports Radio and the NBC Sports Radio mobile app.
This is Betty White. I know you don't need one more thing to worry about, but listen. High blood pressure can cause kidney damage, blindness, heart attack, stroke, and you can have high blood pressure even if you feel all right. 1 in 7 adults has it, but it's easy to get your blood pressure checked, and you can treat it if it is too high. So don't worry about it. Don't ignore it. Just see your doctor and check it out.
For your free booklet, visit the Will Rogers Institute at wrinstitute.org and find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey, Steve Harvey here for the Illinois Broadcasters Association, and in a recent survey, the Illinois Emergency Management Agency was asked to name the top 5 items that every Illinois family needs to have in their home's emergency disaster kit. Check out these answers. Water, can't live without it. Number 2, non-perishable food. Well, after all, a man gotta eat, right? Number 3, weather radio, and make sure you got fresh batteries too. Number 4, flashlight. Even more reason to have fresh batteries on hand. Number 5, first aid kit. Look, there's no reason to feud over what items to put in your family's emergency disaster kit. Get the answers and more at ready.illinois.gov. That's ready.illinois.gov.
Sponsored by the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, aired in cooperation with the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
At countryfinancial.com/simple steps. Follow us at Country Financial on Facebook and Instagram, or Hello Country on Twitter. And keep an eye out for the hashtag #AgAtCountry to learn what we're up to. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to RFD Town and Country Partners, connecting you with the food you eat, the Illinois farmers who grow it, and the food-related events, destinations, and lifestyles that make our state great.
Hey, good afternoon. We are live today at the Illinois FFA Convention, the 90th Illinois FFA Convention. We're here in downtown Springfield. This year's theme, Be Bold. You can follow us. We're tweeting for you today as well as Facebook. And, of course, you can follow us with stories and pictures on farmweeknow.com. Our intern, Jenna Preston, will be here through Thursday, and she'll be able to report for us on those major state officers that are elected on Thursday. The big event here today, in addition to just the initial excitement, the American FFA Degree Supper. That dinner is sponsored in part by Country Financial, and that's who's sponsoring today's broadcast. With us from Country is Chelsea Moore. She is a portfolio manager from Country Trust Bank. Chelsea, thanks for being with us. Tell us a little bit about that title.
Sure, Rita. Thanks for having me. As a portfolio manager, that means that I manage our clients' investments. That can be small businesses, retirement accounts, that sort of thing for our clients. But I'm a part of our bigger investment team at Country. We all work together as one big team, and we're researching investments. So that means investments for our own pension, the life insurance proceeds, the mutual fund company money.
An important job, especially as you talk about young people getting involved and starting their future. We mentioned our intern. You actually started with Country as an intern.
I did start at Country as an intern. It was almost 10 years ago. In January, it'll be 10 years I've been with Country. I think internships are just so crucial to starting that career after college.
So you're here today, and you'll be a part of that American FFA degree dinner later with some key advice, not only for those students, but for their parents, right?
Right, exactly. Financial security is really big, and these are our best and brightest students here at the FFA, and we want to make sure that they have the best and brightest future, and we think that financial security can help them get there. And for the parents, a lot of times that means retirement, so we want to make sure that we touch on that too.
We'll be talking a little bit more about that because I feel the same way. I have a 12, almost 13-year-old daughter, so we've got a little time, but I feel like this advice probably is as good for parents of children in that age group as the high school students.
Right. It's never too early, and it's never too late to start talking about financial security.
So let's go back to your message tonight. I know you don't have a lot of time with them, but you have some important words of wisdom. So, again, share with us your message here at FFA.
Sure. So, like I said, we want to talk about financial security. At Country, we really believe that's based on three main pillars. The first pillar is protecting your assets. This is where things like home or auto or farm insurance come into play. So for these students, it could even mean that renter's insurance on the first apartment. The second pillar is going to be protecting your current income. Life insurance, disability insurance come into play. And that third pillar is retirement, building that retirement income.
For a 19-year-old, life insurance, that's hard to sort of digest, but it's so important. And I remember getting my first policy, in my early 20s, and wow, does that pay off in the end.
It really does, and we want to make sure that we're protected for the unexpected.
So those pillars, and so financial security, really define that. It's a big word, and what does it mean overall?
It means being, like I said, being prepared for the unexpected, making sure that if you suddenly can't work, you've got disability or life insurance to help carry on those paychecks. Or if something happens to your home or your auto, it's not disrupting your life. When you're getting ready for retirement, you're ready to build that retirement and enjoy it. So I think it's really preparing for the unexpected and making sure that you're comfortable with your finances.
So we talked about the timing. Is there a perfect time to start? What is that perfect time?
The perfect time is now. It's never too early to start, especially when you're young. You can take advantage of things like a Roth IRA that maybe you won't be able to take advantage of when you're older. And when we're talking about these students here at the FFA, when we have talked to them in the past, we find that these students are actually more prepared than other students that we talk to. They understand risk and volatility. Anyone who follows the grain market can understand volatility. They understand fundamental analysis of a stock, whether you're analyzing Amazon stock or trying to decide how many cattle you're going to buy for your farm, you're using very similar fundamentals. So we find that these students are actually more prepared than most.
So is it a Roth IRA for everyone?
No, definitely not everyone. And actually, because of income limitations, not everyone can do a Roth IRA. So we don't think a Roth's for everyone, but we do think having a financial plan is for everyone. And that means knowing what your goals are, whether that's college or retirement or a vacation goal, and knowing how we can achieve them together. That way, when you're investing your money, if you get a 7% return or an 8% return, that doesn't really mean anything. But when you can know that you've planned for that goal and that you're on track to achieve that goal, we think that's just so much more meaningful.
Absolutely. Chelsea Moore is our guest. Her official title, Portfolio Manager from Country Trust Bank, and she will be here at the FFA convention tonight visiting with some of the finest FFAers receiving their American FFA degree. That dinner sponsored in part by Country Financial. When we talk about preparing for college and that college savings plan, should all parents be in a stable position otherwise before they actually start planning for college for their kids? Or talk to us about that.
Sure. It's really unique to each family. I have a young daughter, so families like myself that have very young children are maybe focused on saving early. I actually was almost waiting by the mailbox for my daughter's Social Security number to come in so I could start 9. There's also different college plans. You have couples, Roth IRAs, 520. It's really dependent on that family's unique needs. That's where our financial representatives come into play. We have financial representatives all across the country there to help families get down to those details and decide what's for you. Should put into retirement and why the college financial things of your choice, and that's to equate for that particular family.
Awesome. So agriculture, we're here celebrating it. Many years worked in this organization and on. For these young people looking at a career in agriculture, what should they sort of be looking for that could shape their future?
Great question. And I think the answer is really everything. And when you can talk about big things that are happening right now, you can talk about the tariff conversations, NAFTA. Those are going to be huge things impacting the agricultural landscape. And then you can think about other things, like tomorrow we'll know if the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates again. So sometimes farmers have to take on a lot of debt to start that business. So that's going to have an impact too. And then you can think about things like technology. Tractors today are vastly different than they were 20 years ago. So I think the short answer is really everything.
No doubt about it, and they will be digesting that and looking to the future. And you mentioned some current activities. Trust has a lot to do with a lot of things. You mentioned, your local agent and having that trust. It's so huge, and knowing really who to put your faith in the financial arena.
Yeah, and what we've done at Country is we've try to build our investment services based on that trust. We know it's the number one thing that people look for when looking for an investment manager, and we've done it through several different ways. The first we've talked about a little bit is that planning aspect. We think everyone should have a financial plan. The second is through aligned incentives. Everyone on our investment team is salary-based, so there's no incentive to churn accounts or get backdoor payments or anything like that. We've got every incentive to do what's best for our own clients. The third is our team-based decision-making. As a portfolio manager myself, I'm responsible for my clients' accounts, but I don't have the ability to just go out and buy any stock I want. We have a rigorous process and various committees that dictate that. And the last is through our disciplined investment process. One of the hardest parts when it comes to investing is not making emotionally driven mistakes. So when the market's going high, a lot of times people say, I want in right now. And when the market's going down, it might feel kind of bad and you want to get out, but that's exactly the opposite of what you're supposed to do. So through our discipline process, we help our clients keep on track to get to those goals, like we talked about, retirement, vacation, college planning.
So anything I didn't ask, we've covered a lot of ground in a very short time.
I think that the message that we want to get across tonight is we are just very appreciative of these students' commitment to the FFA. They've made a financial commitment. They've made huge impacts on our communities, and we're just so thankful for them contributing to us having a strong nation and a sustainable world. So Country just wants to give our thanks for all that they've done.
Wonderful. And I know that this is your first time being here at the Illinois FFA convention. You're probably really looking forward to getting involved and seeing what's going on.
I am. We've got a couple hours before dinner, so I think I'm going to try to sneak into some of these sessions and really immerse myself while I'm here, and hopefully I can come back next year.
Thank you so much. Chelsea Moore is the portfolio manager from Country Trust Bank. They are a sponsor for today's edition of Town & Country Partners. We'll be back with more.
As a leading farm insurer, Country Financial knows that your farm is more than just the land you own and the crops you grow. It's your legacy, and you need the right protection for that legacy, including liability insurance. We've been in the farm business for over 90 years, so we have the experience and knowledge to help you determine what you need. We'll be alongside you as your farm and family grows. We'll work with you to identify your risks and help you decide how to handle them. We also have the technology to help you manage things on the go. Our goal is to help protect your farm now and in the future. Just like beautiful farmland starts with seeds and soil, protecting your livelihood starts with simple steps. Country Financial. When you're ready to start, we're ready to help. Get started today at countryfinancial.com/simple steps. Follow us at Country Financial on Facebook and Instagram, or Hello Country on Twitter. And keep an eye out for the hashtag #AgAtCountry to learn what we're up to. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
With what's happening on the farm could impact your family and is related to food, I'm Mike Orso with RFD Town & Country Partners. The Peace Corps once ran a public service announcement that concluded with, "It's the toughest job you'll ever love." I think the same could probably be said then, and now, about farming. Our cold, wet April led to a hot, dry May. Talk to some Illinois farmers if you can catch them at this time of year, because many have been going non-stop since then with planting, weed control chores, cutting and baling hay, and other work. Recently I caught up with Maria Cox, a 34-year-old farmer from Greene County in southwest Illinois, who shared what some days and weeks have been like in the last couple of months.
I think, a couple of us on the farm, we were putting in, one of our guys had 96 hours one week, and we've been putting in some long hours, and with the hay, it's usually, I'm not getting home till probably 9:30 at night.
Cox holds an undergraduate degree in agribusiness from the University of Illinois and a master's in agriculture economics from Purdue. After working as a grain buyer and for a crop insurance company, she returned to her family farm 6 years ago and has been farming full-time. She and her family grow hay, corn, soybeans, and raise cattle. She shared how they've been coping with a tough farm economy.
Things are different from when I started farming. Back in, 4 or 5 years ago, you could sell grain at any time and you were sure to profit, essentially. And now it's different. I've always looked at budgets, but I'm paying attention to them a lot more now than I used to.
Working harder and longer probably resonates with a lot of us, but most of our livelihoods don't depend upon the unpredictability of Mother Nature. And on a much lighter note, Cox explains how farming and its demanding schedules can provide some especially unique challenges.
I really want to get my hair cut, and I haven't had time to go do that because it hasn't rained. So I cut it myself in the back, and it looks really bad, and everybody's laughing at me. But I haven't had time to go get my hair cut yet.
Such is life on an Illinois farm, the toughest job you'll ever love. Do you have a food or farming-related issue, event, or destination you think others should know about? If so, email us at radio@ilfb.org. For RFD Town and Country Partners, I'm Mike Orso.
Crop protection stewardship, it's in your hands. If you farm and you plan to plant soybeans and use crop protection products such as those that contain dicamba, be sure to exercise caution.
There can be no shortcuts on the application guidelines for this crop protection products like dicamba. We've got to follow the label.
Steve Turner farms in west central Illinois. He encourages all Illinois farmers to have a backup plan in the event you are unable to apply products due to conditions like wind direction or speed.
There's some extra precautions we need to take, and sometimes possibly just delaying the spraying. When the wind's too strong, you're just going to have to wait. Any problems we have can reflect on all of us out here, and there again, the future of being able to have this technology to use.
The University of Illinois advises farmers to scout fields 14 days after planting resistant soybeans and only use dicamba products on weeds less than 3 inches tall. Crop protection stewardship, it's in your hands. Go online to ilfb.org/steward for more information.
Hey, we are back here at the Illinois FFA Convention in Springfield. A dear friend of mine, Rick Spencer at the Gillespie FFA, advisor for many years, joins us. And Rick, you came over to the broadcast area after you were on stage and you had special recognition. Tell us about that.
Well, it's very, very humbling to be recognized in front of not only your own students, but all the students that are here. And it's been a lot of fun, and it's hard to believe it's coming to an end. But I was on stage with a lot of my constituents, I guess you'd say, Jonathan Morris and Doug Falk, who I started teaching with. And Doug Falk and I went to University of Illinois together. So it was a lot of fun. And, of course, John Cabot, who's a good friend of mine, he came over and took pictures, and he's just a very nice guy. I'm going to miss a lot of things, but being on stage in front of everyone and the recognition was very humbling.
So you were recognized as a retiring advisor for the Illinois FFA. How many other folks are there? Several retiring this year?
I believe there were 8 other teachers with me on stage, and but it was kind of it was funny because we had 8 retirees on stage, and it seemed like 100 new ag teachers that they introduced, and it was great to see that many new ag teachers coming in because there's been a shortage, as most people know. But no, it's very humbling, and I appreciate all that recognition.
How many years at Gillespie FFA?
34 years, 36, I guess, if you count my sick days. But it's been long, but it just went so fast. I was just telling somebody when I was at 18, somebody said, "Oh, you're halfway there," and it seems like yesterday. It went so fast.
Well, Rob Worden and I, another mutual friend of ours, who's now the manager of the Madison County CTE, we talked about you recently because not only did you make an impact on your school, but your community, your district, and the state, Rick.
Well, I appreciate that. That's one thing when you come into this business, if you're not wanting to make some type of impact, my goal was to give kids opportunities, help make them successful. And my goal has always been to give those students opportunities and put them into the job force with a great work ethic. And in today's world, it's tough. I mean, if you want to go out and find a job or get a job, you better be willing to go out and work and get your hands dirty or be in a position you want to be in. Otherwise, somebody's going to take your place.
Do you have highlights? I mean, can you pick out some of the your special memories, your special awards?
Well, that's tough for me to do. I don't want to start naming names because I'll forget somebody, and I'll get back home and somebody will say, "Hey, remember?" Yeah, you know what? You're right. But no, I've had some great. If you're going to have a good program, it comes with good kids. I mean, you have to have good kids make a great program. I mean, the ag teacher has to use a cattle prod once in a while. I'm just kidding. But it's one of those things, though, there are kids that you can never motivate. I think I spent too much time trying to motivate kids that didn't really want to be motivated, and then you have the kids that really have gotten involved and did a lot of great things. But, no, there were some great highlights. I've had 2 state stars. I had Jonathan Griffel was my star farmer. just a few years back, and then Molly Carnes was my state star in agribusiness, and she has a family, and Jonathan, he just got married too. But those are two big highlights, and of course, the last 10 years, I look at my wall in my classroom, and we've gotten more plaques probably in the last 9 or 10 years than we had probably the first 20 years I had put together. And it's because of the group of kids I had. And I don't want to start naming those names because I have one young lady that's over here working for Illinois State now. Her and her sister and her brother were very instrumental in those parts of making that chapter successful with winning CDEs. And we won some contests that, I'll be honest with you, I don't like those contests. I didn't like preparing for them. But those kids wanted to do it, and we prepared, and we won them, like dairy products and poultry. I'm not a dairy products and poultry kind of judging kind of. My meat and potatoes is more ag mechanics and horticulture, livestock judging, stuff like that. But no, I'm looking forward to a challenge. I hope Miss Wills, Kayla Wills, is going to be my replacement. She was a Carlinville FFA member, and she's very ambitious. She's part of Wills Milling from Carlinville, and I'm sure she's going to do great things. But I'm hoping to be able to help her out with FFA activities.
About a minute left here or less, but we'll talk to you further in another taped piece. But I know one of the prouder moments, too, is that your son, Nicholas, also wears the blue and gold now. And I know that he graduated, but how proud you must be of him and being a part of your chapter the last year in teaching.
Well, you're going to get me to tear up here. I don't want to get sentimental, but he's been coming to this convention since he was about 8, and he come in official dress. And he's been going to our lock-ins, and it's been fast. I mean, you're talking 10 years ago, and he's here today. I don't know if I made him come. He had to get up with me this morning. We had to haul cattle, but he's here today. He gets a state degree tomorrow, and I'm very proud of him for what he's done. He's our chapter president this year, and he won a proficiency award. Was our star in star in placement. So I'm very proud of him.
Well, we wish you the very best. You're still going to be teaching a couple of hours a day next school year?
I am. I'm going to teach welding the first 2 hours of the day. So I'm trying to keep that welding program going strong. And the administration of the board is very supportive with all that. And we've had one of the top vocational programs around with welding especially. So, I hope to stay around for a while and then be able to help Miss Wills out.
Well, congratulations. Best of luck to you. One of my dearest friends in this Illinois FFA and in the state, he's what it's all about. He sets the bar very high, Rick Spencer. And our thanks to Country Financial for sponsoring this broadcast from the State Convention in Springfield. I'm Rita Frazier.
Thank you for joining us for RFD Town and Country Partners. Get out and enjoy Illinois.
All right, Rita, we're all good.